where it started was I was 7, 8 years old, and I was listening to Chuck Mangione records, and I had a Nat King Cole record, actually just one of each of those, Feels So Good and The Man and His Music. And that was it for jazz records at my house. But I knew from that experience, that kind of collective improvisation on the Chuck Mangione record, you can really feel the band energy in that, the improvisation and the collaboration and the synergy. And I think those things I understood intuitively, or I resonated with. And I told my mom, I was like, I want to play jazz and I want to play trumpet or guitar. She couldn't find a guitar teacher in our area that would teach me at 7, 8 years old. So she found a trumpet teacher who would take me. And that didn't pan out so well, but it did get me into playing music, and picked up ukulele along the way. While I was playing ukulele, I saw an upright bass, and I was like, ooh, that looks awesome. But that was in elementary school, and only the girls were playing upright bass because they were taller than the boys. So I was put out of the loop for playing upright bass at that age. And then when I was 13, switched over to playing electric bass, again, because I saw a concert and there was a bass player and he looked super cool and playing low notes, and I was like, that's what I want to look super cool playing low notes. So I started playing electric bass, and my musical training kind of all started circling around bass at that point. And all along I sung, like I grew up in churches singing in choir and stuff, like, because the jazz thing started getting into jazz choir, jazz band, this concept of improvisation. Joined my first jazz band when I was about 15. Moved over to upright bass, went to North Texas University, studied jazz. That was what I was doing. I actually played drums through high school and into university as well, but people need bass players typically, especially at that time, more than they need any other instrument. So I was a good bass player, so that usurped any hope of playing any other instruments, and they all kind of went by the wayside. Whereas guitar just kind of like hummed along the side. I always had a guitar near me, either through my brother or through roommates. So fast forward to the end of my university, I moved to New York to go hang out, play music. That's where I met Sebastian and a bunch of other people. And I loved it. And then my visa ran out and I decided to move home. I met a lady, got married, had kids. Come 2012, a couple of the key jazz venues where I had my work as a jazz bass player closed. And I saw the writing on the wall, and my ex and I, at that time, we took a year off just to hang out and be a family. We gave up our place and just traveled around with our kids. And before we left, I talked to a friend who was a booking agent, and I said, what would it take for me to get gigs with you, if I come back? And she said, well, do you play guitar? And I was like, sort of. So she said, well, get a set list together, a couple of demo videos. And when we moved back to town, I had kind of worked on some of that stuff and got a couple sets worth together, strumming acoustic guitar, camp chords, and playing cover songs. And started gigging, basically doing that right away. And there was a lot more work as a solo performer than as a jazz bass player by a long shot. So that quickly usurped my gig life. Just kind of kept going that way. A few years into that, bought an electric guitar and never looked back. I think the first day I got my electric guitar, it went out on the gig with me, and my acoustic guitar came out twice after that, period. That's it. So started working on looping, kind of one pedal at a time. My pedal board basically grew one pedal at a time. A loop pedal, a bass pedal, organ pedal, all the kind of the effects that I have now in one box. They just kind of grew one at a time. Yeah. I had never played electric guitar really until, the more funny way to say it is the first time I played electric guitar was in prison. Which is true. I played a concert out in Abbotsford at a prison with a couple of my buddies. We went out there to play a show for the inmates and the workers. And my buddy Chris Lemke, who works at Prestige Guitars, which is now the guitar I play as a Prestige guitar, he was playing guitar on the gig, and my buddy Kenton on drums, and I was playing bass, and there was some sort of reason why, like, I knew the song, and so I was like, he was like, why don't you play guitar on this one? And I played his, I think it was a Tele through his amp. That was the first time I played an electric guitar on a gig, and I think that was maybe 2008, 2010, something like that. But yeah, the first time I had my own guitar was in about 2014, 2015. And so, yeah, there's a fluidity, I don't know, a fluidness to playing upright bass, like where the thinking apparatus has been kind of cut out of the picture. When I play upright bass, I just do it. And with the electric guitar, there's still a bit of that, although that's been interesting too, being able to do that on one instrument and not the other. I've been working intentionally on that, kind of stepping out and allowing flow to be more frequently, and choosing to relinquish control a bit and err on the side of making a few mistakes. And that's been interesting too, because then you watch the flow state start to come more consistently, which is awesome. So it's getting there. It's not, my fluidity on guitar is not the same as upright bass, but it's getting closer. So maybe my more true nature is I don't like it at all. What's strange, I mean, I've had moments of wanting to be the star. I wanted to, when I was 7, 8 years old, I wanted to play jazz. I wanted not so much to perform, I wanted to create the music. I wanted to be part of making that music. And that's always been what I love about it. Being front and center is a mixed bag for me. When you're the youngest, there's at least times with your siblings where there will be animosity because you're the youngest and you get everything, whatever, everything's easy for you, or you're the cutest. My motivation isn't necessarily that performing aspect of it. I do that more as an exercise of empathy for my customers, my clients, the venues that I work for, the people that are coming to hear me play. They come not just to hear some music, they come to experience something. And part of that is engaging with the performer, which is the dialogue, the body language, the eye contact, the show. And there's certain people that excel at that, like Michael Bublé, who just is so naturally engaging with people and brings this bright light and humor and confidence and strong presence to the stage. That's not, for me, I need to work at that. It's not, it doesn't come as naturally. And then, yeah, you have to fight when you think it doesn't come naturally, then of course, there's the self-doubt that creeps in. So that's another level of, being a performer requires that confidence also. So it's a bit of a catch-22. Maybe if I didn't care, I'd be a better performer. Or if I thought I was a better performer, I'd probably be a better performer. But I think, other people will say, oh, you're a great performer. But of course, I'm always my own critic on that. I think if I've been able to have a show where I kept the critical voices at bay and I really gave it everything that I had in those moments, which involves elements of preparation so that you're not throwing together leftovers for an audience. It's like, yeah, I've really presented something that I've put some intention behind. Those are, for me, my best performances. I come at it with intention. I've not been allowed myself to be the victim of my critical thinking, and I've kind of brought an open energy to the music that I create. So for me, that's a good performance. Although in that regard, just playing 1 million gigs is worth it. They're all good. Even if it sucked, it was good because you learned Oh, not gonna do that again. My own little secret agenda is to play more with bands. I play a lot solo. For that, I'm trying to get more into flow state so that it can be more of an enjoyable experience, both for myself and for the audience, because there's a lot going on, a lot of buttons, a lot of stuff. I love playing with people. That's what brought me into the music. So I want to do more of that. I have a couple iterations of bands that I play with, and if fortune allows, I'll do some recording of it this year, but I make no promises. I'm be grateful just to get through the year playing a bunch of gigs and being a good dad, and there we go.